Good morning. You guys all look so festive today. I love it. So we are going to sing a song called African Noel. It's a really simple song, so we'd love for you to sing along with us. But we're going to have our Uniteens and some kids come up and do a little dance to it. So if you guys would come on up, let's get this going. Perfect formation. Yes, we've done it. We have done it. Okay, go ahead.
So I wanted to just take a quick opportunity as some more people are filing in here. Uniteens, if you were with me last week, come up and join me. So I know, Santi, you were. Come on, buddy, please. A little shy? Come on. All right. So our Uniteens group, which is our 5th grade through 8th grade class, last week we went out with some gift bags and we handed them out to homeless people on Canyon and Broadway, around the library and around the park and around the river. We actually had 15 teenagers last week doing this with me and one of our volunteers. It was a really awesome experience, and I wanted to ask. So I'm putting them on the spot because they didn't know we were doing this, but I wanted to ask a couple of you to just say something briefly about how it made you feel or what you thought about the experience, even if it was totally strange and uncomfortable. That's okay to say too, okay? What do you think? Share something? No? Okay. What do you want to share?
Well, it's kind of like a roller coaster. I was like a little scared at first, but when I gave, I felt all right, so.
Go ahead, say something.
It was like, it kind of made me feel happy happy that we were doing this, but then it was like weird at the same time because this doesn't happen like normal on a daily basis.
Great. So we try to do service projects not just for the church, but for the community as well. If any of you are parents, grandparents, aunts or uncles, or neighbors of a teenage child, encourage them to come to Unity, because what they're doing here will teach them the spiritual principles and the foundation that can truly change the entire world. And I would ask you to please bring them to share in this experience. So thank you.
Okay, everybody's got their Christmas shopping done. You know, we still have a bookstore full of fabulous gifts. So if you need a few things, stop in there and pick something up. Is there anybody here from another Unity today? Okay, what Unity are you from? Unity of Tucson, Arizona. Okay. And over here. New York? Okay. Tucson, anyone else from another unit? Right. We stopped in there, you know, a couple of months ago. We stopped in the fabulous, wonderful ministry going. Tucson is phenomenal, great ministry in Tucson. So the unities are starting to make their mark, build up. It's going to be beautiful. More and more of the unity principles and ideals are getting out into the communities and into the world. And so we've got great leadership back in Unity Village. Everything is going so much more beautifully these days because it is our time. It's Unity's time for this calling. All right, is anybody here for the first time? Okay, what's your name? Patricia? All right, well, welcome, Patricia. Anyone over here? What's Yeah, we have gifts. Keep your armor because we have a special gift for people here for the first time. It's a six-pack. We take care of our own. We want you to be happy. It's the reason why Unity is building. Okay, we got all of you. Great. Anybody else here for the first time? What about? Okay. Fantastic. Well, Shad and Erna and Satisha and myself and everybody else in the choir have been working, you know, just about day and night to put together what I believe is the most phenomenal Christmas Eve presentation we'll ever be making. It's phenomenal. So if you don't have tickets, you can get your free tickets out in the lobby. Make sure you call your friends and tell them to get here tonight at 6 o'clock or on Christmas Eve at 6 o'clock. You are going to be lifted into the Christmas spirit. And Shad's talk today is going to be very inspirational because I asked him, what are you talking about today? He wouldn't tell me. But you're going to love it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity. A few quick announcements. As Jack said, yes, we have our first Christmas show is tonight at 6. Definitely show up early. Get here 5:15 to get good parking. This room is going to be wall-to-wall packed. So whether you're coming tonight or tomorrow night, get your tickets in the lobby, in the bookstore, online. They're free. Grab a few extra to bring someone that's never been here before. But show up early. But one thing we need for tonight is we do need help immediately following this service setting up all the extra chairs we set up in this room. If we get a few people helping us, it'll only take a few minutes. So if you want to help us move a few chairs around the back and the sides, please help us out immediately following the service. Our New Year's Eve meditation service is coming up next Monday, December the 31st, and that's led by Jack and Norma. And they have a guided meditation that starts at 11:15, December 31st, and goes all the way till 12:15, January 1st. So meditate from this year to the next year with Jack and Norma. And that's free, and that's right here in this room. Everyone can come to that. Let's see, next week we have a guest speaker First time on our stage ever, Mr. Shad Groverland. He will be speaking on the single step into personal transformation, and that will be a 9 a.m. and an 11 a.m. service. And last but not least, we just finished our gift drive up to the Lakotas. And I'd like to give a special thanks. I would like to thank everyone who gave anything to that drive, but I want to give a special thanks to Maggie Barral, Sherry Jacobson, Claudia Caraba, Wendy Littlepage, Joel and Grace Gutman, Kate Beltram, Dara Rotuno, and for helping us pack everything, load the trucks, wrap everything, get everything ready to go. Oh, also Connie and Michael Prohl. Anyone else I'm forgetting here? If I forget anyone, I apologize, but thank you. And a special thank you to Jim Ditzel, who drove the truck up and just got back today. It's a long drive and it's a big job, and he's done it quite a few times, so thank you. And the biggest, most massive thanks to Heather. Heather, stand up. You can't really see her because it's dark up there, but that's our secretary, Heather. She put the whole thing together. She coordinated everything, and I don't know how she's still standing after how much I've seen her sweat in the last 2 weeks. So thank you very much, Heather. All right, that's all the announcements I have for today.
Well, these are beautiful days for us. I know that there's a lot of wonderful energy that goes into Christmas shopping and all the different celebrations that go on at Christmas. So we need to remember to take those moments out each day to pray and meditate. Let us do that now. Let us become aware of that divine presence, which we acknowledge to be an omnipresence. And as you breathe, take in the breath and feel that divine presence within you and all around you. Recognizing that breathing is a miracle. Remembering to breathe, take a few moments to enjoy the present moment in life and all that life has given us. Feel that gratitude for this divine gift of life, here and now. Let us know in this presence we are beloved. We are always beloved by the divine that gives us life. Feel the gratitude for that divine love. And let us remember as we go forth from this prayer to share that love. Whatever the circumstances, whatever the conditions, we need to remember that we are here by divine appointment to share love. And for this opportunity and every moment, we give thanks in the name and the power of that presence as we recognize it in our lives, the living Christ. Amen.
This song is a spiritual ballad, something I sang at a Christmas Eve service, 12, 14 years ago. A sweet little Jesus boy. Sweet little Jesus boy, they made you be born in a manger. Sweet did come to save us, Lord, to take our sins away. Our eyes was blind, we couldn't see. We didn't know who you was. Long time ago, he was born in a manger low, sweet little Jesus boy. The wise man came, Lord, followed the star. They came to the lowly manger to find the child of God. Gifts were laid down before the babe in the still of the night. The light had come to earth. Prophecies would now come true. The child of God is born. The light is among men. Would they know who he was? Sweet little Jesus boy, born long time ago. Sweet little holy child.
My entire life as a sound engineer, microphones have been upstaging me. It will not happen as a public speaker. How are we all doing today? Great. Well, Jack did mention that he asked me my topic and I didn't tell him, but that's because I had no idea what it was. And I'm hoping to figure out what it is as I go along today. So if you want to help me with that, that'd be great. We're going to start off with some words of wisdom. I found this little meme, actually probably about a year and a half ago. So the magic of Christmas is not in the presents, but in his presence. Do you think that holds true today? Some no's, some yeses, some grumbles, some I don't know. The magic of Christmas as we experience it now, is it really about his presence? I would think as I go about the city, about my life, I would say that's probably not necessarily the main focus for most people around Christmas time. I don't think most of their time they're thinking, okay, Jesus, yes. Jesus, okay. Don't forget his presence, his presence. Well, the idea that we've taken a spiritual holiday and we have shifted into a time of stress and rushing is nothing new to all of us. I think we're all familiar with that, so I'm not going to talk about that today. But what I do want to talk about this idea of his presence and the presence around the holiday season. So what does that actually mean? Well, we say that we celebrate Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. I think that's most people's conclusion. We're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. But how many people actually stop to think, what does that actually mean? And is that actually why I am celebrating Christmas? I sort of go along with emotions, everyone's doing it, but am I actually celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, or am I celebrating something else altogether that has nothing to do with what we originally celebrated? So what does that actually mean? Well, basically every person probably thinks they know what that means. They probably jump to some conclusions or make some rash judgments, and they say, Well, that means that we're celebrating the birth of Jesus because it was a very special person, and we tend to commemorate very special people. We have Martin Luther King Day, we have all these different days for different people, so Jesus got his day. Well, we say we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, but did you know that there's a difference between Jesus and Christ? They are two different things. Jesus is the physical man that was born over 2,000 years ago. He actually lived in that time. He actually had a life. He actually grew up. He actually did some work. He was a person. But Christ is actually something different than Jesus. So we're going to look at the definition of Christ as it is shown in the Revealing Word. This is our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, that defined it as this. Christ is the divine man. Jesus is the name that represents an individual expression of the Christ idea. Christ existed long before Jesus. It was the Christ mind in Jesus that exclaimed, "And now, Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was." Christ abides in each person as his potential perfection. Charles is pointing out two very important points right here. When we read the Bible, and many people don't know this, when we read the Bible, sometimes it is Jesus speaking, but most of the time it is actually Christ that is speaking, or what we might call the Christ of Jesus that is speaking. And he's making a very clear point right now. This could not be Jesus speaking, because Jesus did not exist before the world was. Jesus was a man. That would be impossible. But Christ did exist before the world was. So we'd have to conclude that this is the Christ of Jesus speaking, not Jesus himself speaking. And the second important point that he's making here is that Christ abides in each person as his potential perfection. That concept really sets Unity and other New Thought movements apart from other forms of Christianity, that this Christ is available to each and every one of us and is awaiting inside of us to be born in us. So it was not specific to Jesus, it was not only for Jesus, it is in all people awaiting to be awakened at any point in time that we tap into it. So it's very, very important points that he points out there. So you might call this the Christ nature, our higher awareness. You might refer to it as Buddha nature or the Tao. You might call it intuition at times when you just sort of tap into it for a quick moment. Some people refer to it as the spark of God that is within each of us. So now, if we are celebrating the birth of Jesus, what is Jesus without Christ? He's a dude. He's just a dude. Just like millions of other dudes that have been on this planet, Jesus was just a dude. So what is he without the wisdom and the incredible abilities that came into him tapping into his Christ awareness as he grew up? Would we still be celebrating and talking about Jesus had he not come into his Christ awareness? Would there be a holiday about him? Would there be all this, all this stuff that goes on around this season if Jesus had remained just a regular guy and not come into his Christ awareness? We probably would never know the name Jesus today. We probably would never have had any concept that he was even born or lived. It would be superfluous to us if he had not become Jesus Christ. Maybe don't realize that that is sort of his growth curve, is that he was Jesus, and then he was born, and he came and became Jesus Christ. He came into his Christ nature, and later he actually became Christ Jesus, which actually refers to the ascended Christ nature of Jesus, that he transcended his body. But I digress. So as far as I see it, if we're celebrating the physical birth of Jesus, the person, we're just sort of celebrating how he got here, which is really no more special than how any of us got here, right? It's just a birthday. It's just a birthday celebration, so why are we making it so specific for this person and making it so big? But if we are actually celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, then we should be celebrating what he became and what that means for all of us, right? If we're celebrating the actual birth of Jesus Christ, then that's something much bigger than just that one little evening and that thing that happened there. We'd actually be celebrating a lifetime that he lived and accomplishments that he made. So hold on to that idea, that thought as we move forward here. I'm going to kind of go on a tangent and then try to loop back around in the end if I can. Life is a process, a series of steps towards growth. Some of them are small steps that seem insignificant, and oftentimes when we've made a lot of steps, looking back at those small steps, we forget how major they were, and we sort of belittle them as being insignificant. And one of those early steps is what we call tolerance. Is everyone familiar with the term tolerance? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot. So in order to begin to have a healthy relationship with life, we have to start to develop some tolerance. We have to begin to start developing a relationship to tolerating the things that happen to us and around us. So tolerance is a basic stepping stone towards a functional life. I'm not even saying like an amazing life. I'm just saying sort of a functional life that you can get by with. You have to at least learn to tolerate people and situations around here if you're going to function in our society, right? If you don't have any tolerance whatsoever, you're having a very difficult go at it. So when an intolerant person, for example, gets cut off in traffic, they will actually follow that person back to their house and get out and beat them up on their own front lawn. That is an intolerant person, right? Sort of an extreme example, but that is a real person. That actually does happen. We've known that's happened. We know people that have actually done that. That's a real thing. So they think that people and situations are legitimately acting against them, and so they act back in a physical manner against that thing. Now, when a slightly more tolerant person gets cut off in traffic, they cuss and bang their steering wheel, right? Now, we might laugh at that and go, oh, well, that's still pretty primitive. But that is a step up, right? From the person who followed that driver home and beat him up on their front lawn to the person that just bangs their steering wheel and cusses a lot, that is a spiritual step. That is actually some spiritual growth. They've become more tolerant. So we have to respect that. So they've gone from this to someone that might be a little bit safer behind the wheel. So that's a good thing. There's a growth curve there. We should be celebrating that. Now, the thing to recognize is that the slightly more tolerant person is still acting out, right? They're still acting out their aggression, but they've made the step to no longer act against somebody else, right? They're now just said, I'm going to contain it right here. I'm still acting out, but I'm not going to put it on anybody else. I kind of realize it's my thing right here. I'm going to keep it somewhat contained. So that's good. So that's a positive step. An intolerant person gets bothered by things and acts out against them. Has anyone ever worked with an intolerant person? You got to get out more often. You haven't had enough jobs. I have worked with a lot of intolerant people where they actually think what you're doing is an act against them, and they're going to come over and physically, verbally attack you because of it. That's an intolerant person. So a slightly more tolerant person still gets upset, but they realize, I'm not going to act against you, because whatever's going on, I need to keep it contained. So that is a step towards tolerance, and it does take effort and practice for that person to get there. Right? They might be seeing counseling, they might be doing meditation, they might be doing a number of things to get that step up, to get to that place. And for them, that might be a big step. It might have seemed like a lot of work for them to get there, but they are there. And as we become more tolerant, our lives become slightly more functional. If you can avoid actually going and physically attacking someone in your workplace, you're probably going to keep your job. You might even get promoted one day. Your life becomes a little bit more functional, a little bit better. Okay, so maybe it's not a perfect life yet, right? You're still at the sort of entry level. But the more we go along on the ladder of tolerance, the better it's going to get, the more we're going to function in society, the less external conflict we're going to experience. We're no longer acting out in public, we're no longer acting out against people, and our frustrations, we sort of just keep them bottled up here, and we're not putting them out there. And that is good. But the key to remember is we are still frustrated with other people, right? We haven't gotten over that. We've just sort of learned to contain our reaction to it. And that shows us that there's still plenty of room to grow. So what is next in tolerance? Well, the Dalai Lama said this: in the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is the best teacher. So here we have yet another growth opportunity. If I can start recognizing the person that cut me off or the person in my workplace that's agitating me, not as a foe or an opposition, but as a teacher, that's another growth. That's another step forward. That's another opportunity for elevation to go closer to my higher awareness. And that's good. That's a good thing. But what is interesting about this quote is that it might at first sound like he's talking about a very deep spiritual concept or enlightened way of living. But when you really look at it, what he's talking about is still a very basic concept. Because long as you still see enemies and you still believe in enemies, you're still fairly trapped in a very judgmental way of existing and seeing the world around you. This separation mindset that I am here and you are there, you are acting opposed to me, therefore you must be an enemy. So you're still operating from a very basic consciousness, a basic way of seeing the world. But, don't get me wrong, if you are still operating in the mindset that there are enemies out there, that there are bad people out there doing bad things that might be doing bad things to you or ones you love or things you love, then to start to see them as a teacher, that is a very beautiful growth opportunity. So I'm not belittling that. I'm just recognizing and pointing out that even from there, there is plenty of room to grow. And the reality is, this is probably the level of tolerance that most of us are stuck in today. We're probably sitting right below this or somewhere right in this level of tolerance where we're starting to recognize that the things that are seemingly happening to us, the people that are seemingly acting against us, might actually be a teacher or a reflection of what we personally need to work on. That's probably where most of us are teetering in most of our lives. We recognize that, yes, most of the things I'm dealing with are my internal issues, and the fact that I'm frustrated with anything out there is probably a sign that I need to work on something. It doesn't mean we're past it. We're still getting frustrated. Imagine, do people still get frustrated in here? I still, once in a while, get frustrated. 6 people still get frustrated. So we'll just gather in a group over here. We'll do our own work. The rest of you are enlightened. Just enjoy the holidays. We're really envious of you. That's great. Very proud of you. So we still see, by and large, people and circumstances as being opposed to us, or opposed to our agenda, or opposed to our perception, or where we're trying to go, that there is this opposition happening in life. And so we are still getting upset, we are still getting frustrated at people and circumstances. So now this sort of reveals the pinnacle or the peak of where tolerance can take us. Tolerance can only take us so far. Tolerance has a limit. Even with very high functioning tolerance, we are still inwardly bothered by what is happening in the world. You can have a very tolerant person. They can put up with anything that's happening around them, but inwardly, it still bothers the heck out of them, right? Does that make sense? Even at the peak of tolerance, you still are likely having an internal struggle going on or a frustration. Because remember, tolerance still buys into that there is this concept that you are wrong and I am right. I'm just going to tolerate your wrongness. You are mean, I am kind, I'll just tolerate that you're mean. The fundamental concept that you are unlike me. If you think about the word tolerance, still holds on to this concept that you are unlike me, therefore I must tolerate this difference. And that's why tolerance hits a peak or a ceiling. It hits a growth curve that sort of stops, it levels out, and we can't go beyond it. So even a very, very high level of tolerance would say something like this: I know you're wrong, but I'm spiritually evolved enough to not tell you you're wrong. That's probably the peak of tolerance. That's right at the top there, right? I'm putting up with the world, but I still think I'm right. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it is an improvement, right? The peak of tolerance is an improvement. We've gotten pretty far. And even its imperfection, it is a necessity for the human experience and as a society. Tolerance is a necessity for us to cohabitate as human beings, to us to cohabitate with the other beings on this planet, and for us to even just exist as a human being. We have to learn to tolerate what's happening around us, or else we cannot function in this world because it's just too unstable to exist without a high level of tolerance, or at least a mid-level of tolerance. So it's a wonderful thing to become more tolerant. It is a wonderful thing. But tolerance is not the end goal. And I think that might be the issue, is that a lot of us plateau right at the peak of tolerance. But tolerance is not the end goal. So now let's talk about acceptance. Because acceptance picks up where tolerance falls short. Once you've peaked out at tolerance, the only thing left is acceptance. Tolerating things the way they are is very, very different than accepting them the way they are. Can you see the difference there? Tolerating things the way they are is very different than accepting them the way they are. And this is the point I think I need to get to. Each step up the ladder of tolerance requires us stepping out on a limb, requires us challenging ourselves, requires growth. And we've done a lot of that to be where we are right now. We've taken classes, we've read books, we've been to seminars, we've studied, we've listened, we've grown, we've applied, and we've probably worked our way up the ladder of tolerance. And we've done a lot of good job getting there. And we've seen the benefits and we've seen the payoff. Life is more stable. We can keep a relationship longer. We can keep a job longer. Things are pretty good. This is good, and this is growth. We've had to challenge the way we think and the way we live every step of the process. We've had to get uncomfortable with what's going on. If we want to grow, we've got to get uncomfortable. We've done that probably several times. We've probably been humiliated at different times in our lives, and that was a growth opportunity towards tolerance. And now, in order to make the leap from tolerance to acceptance, we just might have to do it all again. No one's excited about that, are they? They're like, I already did all this just to get here, and you're telling me I might have to do that all again? That doesn't sound very fun. We might have to step out of our comfort zone again. Because if you think about the tolerance plateau, we've gotten here. Things are pretty good, right? There's rocky moments here and there, but we figure out how to work through them. There's sort of smooth sailing. We're doing okay. Why would I want to rock the boat? Why would I want to trouble the waters when I've got it sort of figured out enough right now? Well, we need to challenge the status quo again. We need to uproot these deep-seated issues that are still below the surface because we're still getting agitated, we're still getting upset, we still have issues with other people, we're just not dealing with them. And so Buddha really asks us to take it up a notch. This is Gautama Buddha said, "Let none find fault with others. Let none see the omissions and commissions of others. Let one see one's own acts done and undone." See, acceptance requires something more of us that tolerance never asked for. Tolerance said, just put up with it. It's all I'm asking you to do. Just put up with it. But acceptance says, that's not going to be good enough anymore. I'm not asking you to put up with it. I'm asking you to align with it. You're like, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to say this person's a part of me. I don't want to think that these people are anything like me. This situation is not for me. It is against me. That's where I'm going to draw the line. I'm tolerant. I'm okay. I'm functioning. I'm moving forward. Why would I want to go to acceptance? And it does ask us to go back to the drawing board of our lives and really start to look at, am I ready to make the jump? Because I've been good, I've been functioning, I've been okay, but am I ready to go to great or to best or to better? So that would mean back to rocking the boat of our lives, the boat that might currently seem fairly settled and safe, but it's a boat that's sitting on a pool of negativity and deep-seated issues that I probably just stuffed down there because I don't want to deal with them. I already dealt with enough to get to high-level tolerance. I don't want to deal with this pool that's asking me to uproot it in order to get to acceptance. But the jump from good to better to great is going to require us to look in that pool. It's going to require us to rock that boat again and to see what comes to the surface. We did a lot of work to get to a good place, but it's going to be time to step out and do the work again to get to a great place. To be the best expression of Christ that we can be requires us to let go of good. That is the hard jump to make. In order to get to best, we've got to be willing to let go of good. Who's excited about that? Same 6 people. All right, I'll see you over there. Everyone else still enlightened? That's fine, I get it. This group's really going to be working hard. Maybe you guys can make sandwiches for us or something while we're doing the work. And that's the thing probably most of us are trying to avoid, is making that jump from good to best. We're sitting pretty good. I don't want to rock the boat. I think I'm just going to sort of just ride this out until I'm about 96. And then sayonara. I did my best. Try again next life if I believe in such a thing. But going from good to better or to best is going to require us to let go of good, which is some shaky territory, which is why most of us probably avoid that. So acceptance asks us to process our experiences differently than we ever have, to see with different eyes, to approach situations with different emotions, with different expectations, with different feelings, to step back into that process of growth where we're a little bit raw, we're a little bit more open, we're a little bit ready to learn. We're maybe not as confident right off the bat because you said, you know what, I have to step in as a more raw version of myself to see what's truly going on here that I might have been hiding or suppressing because I was pretty good. So it asks us to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more open, a little bit more exposed so that we can actually have a check-in of where we are right now. And this is going to be necessary in order for us to even think about reaching best, is we've got to start growing again. So acceptance asks us to approach life differently. We must explore what we think. We must explore our point of view of the world. And I don't know if you know this, but your point of view is not correct. I don't care what it is. It's always wrong. And as soon as you can accept that, that's another giant growth curve. No matter how right you feel or think you are, if you just say, I'm still wrong, there's a lot of release to that. And there's a lot of power that comes with that. I am still not totally right. And that's what we're being asked to do, to challenge that point of view, to challenge that perspective of the world that we have developed through this process, and ultimately to discover and call out the difference between, am I just tolerating or am I truly accepting? You're going to have a lot of big eye-openers if you can step into some situations with this in mind. Am I just tolerating what is happening or am I truly accepting what's happening? That difficult relationship with my child or my spouse or my family or my friends or my coworkers that I'm having right now, am I just tolerating that or am I accepting that? There's a huge opportunity for growth there. Because if you can recognize, you know what? I've only been tolerating life. I have not yet accepted life. Do you feel the difference there? I've only been tolerating life. I have not yet accepted life. Just that realization, just to say, you know, honestly, I've only been tolerating, there's a little bit of a release that comes and goes, but there's a chance I could start accepting. And how amazing that would be. To release my concept that I see things the way they are, and to accept that they just are the way they are. Accepting is allowing life to be the way it is. I know that's an insane out there concept. It's really pushing the limits there. But acceptance is allowing life to be the way it is. And to not see it as an attack on me, to not see it as opposed to me, to not see it as in the way of what I'm trying to do, to accept that it just is the way it is. And, which is probably a little bit more difficult, accepting that people just are the way they are. I don't need to fix them. I don't need to change them. I don't even need to figure them out. They just are the way they are. Because one thing's for sure, I'm never going to figure them out. I'm probably never going to change them, and I definitely cannot fix them. The 6 of us probably realize that. That'll be our first discussion. And if you know it or not, acceptance is the end of frustration. When I'm driving and someone cuts me off, the first thought I've trained myself to think is, I know I have accidentally cut someone else off, probably 10 times today. Because that's just human nature. I can just accept that that is me driving that car. I'm sure I'm a complete moron on the roads at times, and I float out of my lane. I'm sure I do that. I don't need to honk at myself, because I already know I do that. I accept that this person, no matter what their issue is, they've gotten distracted, they're trying to dodge something, they're trying to move something, they missed their exit. I have been in all those situations. Who am I to get upset at that? That is me. So for life to be great, or even the best it possibly can be, we'll have to step out of the comfort of good. And that is exactly what Jesus Christ was asking us to do, and he brings it home. Don't you love those when people are just on a way big tangent and they just use this giant jump to get back to their topic as if that was a really good transition? You're like, that was so weak. But coming to that true level of acceptance is exactly how the Christ will be born in us. And that's all Jesus was talking about. You have a society that, when he was alive at the time, was just like brimming with barely tolerating everything that was happening. And things would just erupt into wars instantaneously because no one could, they were just sitting right at the level of tolerance, just like, no, I've had enough with you, I'm going to destroy everything about you. So you had wars and you had all these situations going on, religious hypocrisy, struggles, because there is a boiling point where everyone's still frustrated. There's some tolerance, but they're all still frustrated. And Jesus is saying we need to learn to accept. Christ is saying we need to go to the next level and just accept what is happening. And if we were to truly honor and celebrate this great man who grew into the higher awareness that is available to each and every one of us, to truly honor that accomplishment, not just the fact that he was born, congratulations, you were born, but to honor that accomplishment would be something more than a birthday party. Do you ever realize that Christmas is just a birthday party? It's just a big birthday party. Except that Jesus never gets any of the presents, which is a really weird birthday party. We honor his accomplishment by taking our own life to task yet again. And what a perfect thing that the new year comes right after Christmas. To truly honor that message, that experience, the birth of this Christ nature that came into this planet, take that new year as an opportunity to say, I'm going to truly honor what this human being accomplished by trying to put it into my own life, by trying to become more aware, more present, more awakened, more accepting of life as it is, and stop trying to steer it in a direction that I think it needs to go, fitting into a tiny little box that I've created as my expectations and my perceptions. That would be to truly honor Jesus Christ. Don't just accept good. Don't just accept pretty good. Shoot for best. Shoot for the greatest that you can be. So Christmas might appear to celebrate the birth of sweet little 8-pound, 6-ounce newborn baby Jesus. But does it celebrate the actual intent of Jesus Christ? Does it reflect the true ministry that came out of this birth of this human being? Well, here's the Christ awareness speaking of Jesus. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. Tolerance is a life of fear and trouble. But acceptance is peace. Acceptance is true peace. Not to feign interest in other people and the things that they're doing, pretend to be peaceful around other people and to put on a good face, but to do the process, to address our internal issues so that we can actually reveal this inner peace that is waiting to surface. Tolerance is not acceptance. Tolerance is not peace. This planet has never been at true peace because the only thing we've ever actually practiced is tolerance, which means there's always frustration below the surface, ready to explode at any time. And peace is not a way of acting or speaking or arranging the circumstances in your life to be perfectly in your favor. It is a state of consciousness. And until we hit the 100th monkey or the tipping point of people who have a consciousness of peace, we will not obtain peace. We will not force peace. We will not mandate peace. We will not fight our way to peace. It'll happen by each individual coming into a place of acceptance and growing a consciousness of peace. And then we'll hit a tipping point. So as I see it, the only birth that really matters this year is not the birth of Jesus, but the birth of Christ in each of us. And that is the truth as I experience it. So let's take a little meditation and sort of absorb some of that. I invite you just to close your eyes, settle into your seat, allow your shoulders to relax, take a breath, and just sink. Sink out of the consciousness that has kept you frazzled, worrying, running, distracted. And actually feel yourself dropping from your head, down your spine, and to your heart. No one is out to get me. No one opposes me. Nothing about life is in my way. All of it just is. And because that is true, I have been given an amazing opportunity to live and experience life just as the great masters have done throughout time. To grow beyond the illusion, beyond the stress, the frustration, and the doubt, and to drop in to what I have truly come here to be. expression of this divine nature, an expression of this peace, this joy, this love. To walk into any situation and know that this situation is for me. This is a new opportunity for me to show off my incredible tools of peace, joy, and love. I have been given an infinite palette of possibilities. And I get to paint who I am into any scene I desire. No matter what appears to be happening around me, I see myself showing up as that pillar of patience, steadfast in acceptance that there is only love. And although I see what I think is something contrary to love, it is simply my perception and my interpretation. The universe is for me. It's behind me. It supports me. It guides me. And now I realize there is only one thing happening. The collective I, the collective we, the collective presence that I call me, that you call you. The only separation that exists is my belief that there is such a thing. So we go forth into this holiday season, truly celebrating the purpose of it, the awakening of this spark of life that sits in me, growing and germinating, expressing, and all I have to do is open to it. This is what I am. This is what I've come here to be. And so it is. Amen. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you for that message, Shad. Beautiful message with the ability to do that and carry that into our world. It's going to change everything for us. Just establishing that presence of acceptance and peace. Incredible message for these holiday seasons especially. And but this guy's in my way. Come on, Josh. I'm up here talking. You're moving microphones. We'll take an offering for Unity now. And as we prepare to do that, let's feel that gratitude that we have, that we are actually receiving these insights, that we are able to put into practice in our lives and change our lives, and in some small way change the world itself. So feel that gratitude as you give toward this. As we take our offerings in our hands, let's bless them with this offering statement. divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. Together, please. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. And we have our Sunday school children here. Look at these guys. Amazing. Amazing.
people that have given of their time. They've been here every single night this week for 4-hour rehearsals. There's dancing, there's singing, there's choreography. It's life-changing. It's going to lift you in a way. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, show them unity, and let them experience this Christ experience through these talented, we're the most talented congregation ever. So let's all rise and close.
Something greater is at work this year. Let's tap in. Amen.